Yes, I know, this is another TBR video, but hear me out. Hello everybody, I'm Roxy and this is recmebooks. Yes, this is one more TBR video, but two things. One, I will do a separate wrap-up for this one, so that's taken care of. And second, my informal April TBR video, link down below and EVI as always, was actually a success. It really helped me focus my reading, so I'm thinking of incorporating that every month into my channel for the foreseeable future, just because it helped me so much, but we'll see how that goes. Of course, I'll talk more about that in my April wrap-up. I'm so excited to talk today about this Springathon, which is a new readathon created by Natalie from Curious Reader. I will leave the link to her announcement video down below. I think it's hosted by a couple more people, so you can find out all the details down below. There are also Bookstagram challenges, and I'm just pumped. The sole purpose of this readathon is to encourage you to read more nature writing, which I think it's kind of the perfect time because most of us cannot go into nature at the moment, and I'm actually craving that vicarious experience. The readathon, however, accepts both fiction and non-fiction, but if you do like nature writing and science writing, you must check out Natalie's channel if you haven't already. She's amazing and her taste is incredible. Very excited, very excited. I'm waiting for her TBR as well. So, dates. This takes place from the 4th of May until the 17th. I will probably start from the 1st, although that will depend on whether I want to finish off some things that might be left from April, so we'll see how that goes. But those are the official dates, and there is one main challenge, which is read one nature writing nonfiction book, and then there are 5 one-word challenges where the word can be part of the title, part of the cover, or the topic of the book. These challenges are bird, animal, plant, water, and travel. So what I will do now is show you the books that are high priority and then the books that I might get around to. And then in my wrap-up, I will have matched the books I actually read to the challenges, just because I don't want to set such a strict TBR because those I never follow. I like to give myself some range. Okay, so all of that is taken care of. Let's get into the books, shall we? The first one I have is a very short fiction book called A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. And this is about a young man that after the First World War, goes into the country to, I think, look at one specific painting. And it's a lot about art and nature and contemplation. And you know, contemplating art and existence are some of my biggest buzzwords, so I'm very excited. Then I have A Whole Life by Robert Seethaler. This is about a man who has lived all his life on the mountains, but something happens. I'm not sure what, but he might have to move, and so it's about this feeling of alienation with modern times, I think, and it sounds potentially heartbreaking but also uplifting. Possession by A.S. Byatt, which is not nature oriented per se, although the poets do write a lot about nature because they are romantic poets. It's basically the journey of 2 academics trying to discover what bond might have been between 2 romantic poets in the Victorian era. I only have like 200 pages left of this one, even less I think. So yeah, like that bit. So I really just want to finish it. Then another book that I want to finish is Mary Oliver's Upstream. Mary Oliver is a wonderful poet I really just discovered. I read some theory by her for my poetry course, but I never read her poetry until I went to Seattle and the whole Pacific Northwest. She is very big there, of course. And this is her collection of essays. And again, it's a lot about writing and nature and Walt Whitman and color me excited. Then one book I'm definitely going to get to is The Best American Science and Nature Writing 2019, edited by Cy Montgomery. I've already started this. No, I only read the introductions, but I love the introductions. Cy Montgomery is the author of The Soul of an Octopus, which I enjoyed. It was not my favorite book, but I did really like her voice and I did like the book. So I really trust her judgment, and you know I love me this anthology. Then I will continue my reading of Leaves of Grass and Selected Poems and Prose. I have been making progress on this, but I don't think I'm going to finish it in April. And so because Walt Whitman is so connected to land and nature, I think it would be perfect to add it to my Springathon TBR. And then another book that I don't know if I'll get to in April, so I might want to give it a second shot here, is The Overstory by Richard Powers. I am really, really excited and looking forward to this book, but it's just other things have gotten in the way, so this is actually high priority. Then I have other books that are very naturey but are not so high on the priority list. First is Walden by Henry David Thoreau. I have read big chunks of this actually for a course I took like 6 years ago. Really enjoyed it. It's famously, of course, about Henry David Thoreau going to the woods and thinking and writing, and that's it. It's also quite controversial because apparently he was not as isolated as he would have us believe, but that only makes it better for me, and honestly I really, really want to read this. Then I have The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea. This is obviously very good for the water prompt. I don't remember what this is about, but again, that's okay because I love Yukio Mishima, so I don't want to check. I just want to go into it blank. One that would be good for the bird prompt, it's the second volume of Ted Hughes' animal poems called What is the Truth? I picked this up a couple of years ago, never got to it, but I really enjoy Ted Hughes. He's not my favorite poet, but I do want to read more by him, and I love that he uses animals in his poems. Then I have Haya Yanagihara's The People in Trees, which would be a reread. I started rereading this a while ago, but then I couldn't continue because of life, and I've wanted to return to it for a long time. However, it is not as high as a priority, but it should be for you. This is a severely underrated novel, and I talked about it in my blog this week, so you can read that. I'm going to leave the link down below. It's just amazing. It's the fictional memoir of a scientist that discovers the secret to possible immortality. The first 100 pages are a bit slow, but they are so necessary, and overall this is so good. It has had such staying power with me over the years, and I have not read A Little Life. I probably will at some point, but it pains me to see so many people say, oh, that book is great, which is good because The People in the Trees is kind of bleh. And I'm like, no, it's amazing. You should read it. I'm sorry. I got carried away. Then I have Following the Bloom by Douglas Whynott, which is an amazing last name, let me tell you. And I picked up this book almost by chance. I will upload a video where this book is featured and you will see. It interested me from the first moment because it was sold as full of intrigue. It's about beekeepers and beekeeping trade in America, but apparently at a moment where it was at a crossroads or it was a large turning point. So I'm very excited about this, but I did pick it up way more recently than some of these other books, so that's why it's not that high on the list. Then one that is high on the list, but if I don't get to it during the readathon, I might just read it in June, is Bear by Wolf D. Story, and the subtitle for this is Myth, Animal, Icon. Bears are my favorite spirit animal, and I don't know that much about them. I used to when I was a child, and then I sort of forgot and stopped learning about them, which is very sad. So I want to get back into learning about bears. Also, I got this at Shakespeare & Company like 2 years ago. I love that store and I'm very excited for this book. Then I have a Spanish edition of The Invention of Nature by Andrea Walt. I'm sorry, it's so shiny and it doesn't show very well. This is about Alexander von Humboldt, his life, but also his explorations and what he discovered and his legacy. I'm very interested. I actually started reading this, and once again I stopped because it is such a heavy book. It's heavier than usual hardbacks because the pages are so thick, but as you know, I'm in my home. It's easier for me now to read sitting down, and now I hold heavy books on my lap instead of in my hands. So this has increased its chances. And finally, I have some travel writing. Now, a lot of this is much more urban than I would consider nature writing, but I am very interested in the city as nature and our interaction with the city and with nature within the city. So I would still count this, maybe. I don't know. Some of these are higher priority than others. First is De Flâneur by Edmund White. I started this already while I was traveling. I loved it. The tagline here is a stroll through the paradoxes of Paris. And I love that. He talks about the touristy stuff, but also like the underbelly stuff, and finds beauty in all of it. Then another reread that I actually talked about in my currently reading / I'm reading video, which I'll link down below, and in the eye, of course, Elsewhere by Rosita Boland, which was one of my favorite books of last year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Again, link down below. I just adore how she writes, and she's so adventurous. She's also so introspective, and she loves writing so much. So her thoughts on life, on writing and traveling are everything I need right now. And I actually think like this is a bit more nature-ish, perhaps. Then another one that is also very urban is something of his art, Walking to Lübeck with J.S. Bach by Horatio Clare. Now, Horatio Clare wrote A Single Swallow, where he followed the migration of swallows from Britain to Africa and back. So if you want a book that is travel writing, meets nature writing, and also about birds, that is a great choice. It is not a perfect book, but it is very engaging and very interesting. This is just a very short book about the strolls that the composer took around his city, and Horatio Clare recreating them and thinking, I think, about life. And it's by Little Taller Books, and I visited the page because they are an indie nature writing press, and I was so excited to discover them. I discovered this book at a bookstore, but now I want to read a lot more from their catalog, and this would also be good for my Curious Adventure reading challenge, for which I also did a TBR, which I will link down below, because I was kind of cheating in that challenge with the New to Me press, that is also an indie press, and this is perfect for that. I think I want to make that more of a priority. The final book is a travel book, and it has more of a mixture between nature and urban travel, and that is Footsteps by many different authors, because this is a New York Times collection, and it's basically authors recreating or reflecting about other authors' journeys or spaces, and it's just fascinating. This, of course, merges my interest in literary nonfiction with my interest in travel nonfiction, so I'm so excited. And that was my TBR. Believe me, I do understand I will not get to all of these books. I just wanted to have range and also perhaps give you ideas, but I'm so excited. This is a great initiative. And tell me, are you thinking of participating? And if you're going to participate, please do let me know what you're reading, and I hope you're staying safe and happy as much as you can, and you're reading as much as you want to, and enjoying other things, and are being able to, you know, just keep your sanity and enjoy life a little bit. So that's it. See you next time.